A century-old amusement park that could be lost forever.
We're dying on the vine down here.
Our time is over. That's serious.
A divided family on the verge of a painful split.
No amusement park in the world has been owned by a family as long as this one.
The family loyalties just tend to get disintegrated. It's just a pattern for disaster.
And a reprieve from the governor. But will it be enough?
That's the day after Labor Day. The amusement park's not open down there. My father is flipping in his grave right now.
I'm Jamie Colby in Ocean City, Maryland, an irresistible Atlantic resort town known for its golden beaches and this historic boardwalk. Now, the population may read 7,000, but more than 8 million visit every single year. And I'm here to meet a family that has a strange inheritance that's been an icon on this boardwalk for more than a century. Hi, Doug.
Hi.
I'm Jamie.
Nice to meet you.
So nice to see you, too. Your family really is so well known here.
Yeah, I'm afraid we are, yeah. We've been here a long time.
A long time indeed, since 1890 to be exact. Doug Trimper's great-grandparents, Daniel and Margaret Trimper, purchased 2 city blocks of oceanfront land. They start with a pair of small hotels, but in 1902 decide to risk everything on a new attraction. Daniel wants to bring in a ride unlike any seen before in Maryland. He orders a massive carousel from the Herschel Spillman Company. With a diameter of 51 feet, the merry-go-round is one of the largest built up to that point. How special is the carousel?
It's pretty unique. There's 48 hand-carved animals on it with real horsehair tails. It has oil paintings around the top. I mean, it's just not the sort of thing that's made anymore.
The carousel is originally powered by a steam engine, and rides cost a nickel. But those nickels add up. When Daniel Trimper dies in 1929, he leaves ownership of a thriving operation to his 7 children, and they pass it on to theirs. Under the 3rd generation of Trimpers, the park enters its golden era, with the leadership of Daniel Trimper III and Doug's father, Granville.
My father, all he ever wanted to do was run the amusement park. He was the youngest person in the planet's history to own and operate a Ferris wheel.
Starting in the 1960s, Granville upgrades the park's rides in both scale and theme. In 1964, he commissions a former Ringling Brothers art director to build a haunted house. Granville later opens the Trimper's Wheels of Yesterday attraction, a fleet of vintage cars that includes a 1914 Overland driven by the TV and movie comic Jack Benny. In the 1980s, he restores the famous carousel and erects the park's first roller coaster.
He had big ideas for the amusement park. You know, that was his dream. The man was just crazy about amusement rides.
Over the next decades, profits keep climbing. But the park's success is an exception to the rule within the industry. Amusement park historian Jim Futrell tells me that since the 1960s, family-run operations like the Trimpers have become a dying breed.
With interstate highways and the shift to corporate theme parks, a lot of the family-owned parks fell by the wayside.
What does a family-owned amusement park do with that kind of competition?
Well, I think you have to know your place in the market.
Trimpers did seem to know its place, trading on its rich history and tradition.
No amusement park in the world has been owned by a family as long as this one.
In the world?
In the world. And these are rides that have been around for generations, and people come to these shore communities for generations.
But nostalgia must compete with ever wilder thrill rides at bigger parks. Trimper's attendance tumbles in the 1990s. Then at the turn of the 21st century, another challenge arrives in the form of another wild ride. The real estate boom.
In that decade alone, 15 amusement parks closed throughout the country on the seashore just because of the value of their land outstripped the value of the business.
Oceanfront amusement parks across the country are selling out for big paydays. Coney Island's vintage Astroland takes $30 million to build condos. Panama City, Florida's Miracle Strip goes dark in a $15 million deal.
It's tough to say no to something like that.
But Granville, now in his late 70s and still park president, has zero trouble saying no. He'd much rather hold on tight to his family's boardwalk empire than cash in his tickets. And Doug is a chip off the old block.
You're making people happy, and the thing my dad liked the most about his job was sitting on that bench every night watching people be happy.
But after 5 generations, more and more Trimpers share a slice of the pie. And some family members no longer feel the amusement park magic. We spoke with one shareholder who wished not to be named, who told us some owners just feel the business no longer makes sense and think the time's come to sell. Joe Harrison, one of the Trimper family attorneys, says this divide is a common theme among family businesses.
Trying to keep a business and a family for a long period of time is very difficult. The family loyalties just tend to get disintegrated. It's just a pattern for disaster.
Ownership of Trimpers is now split among 7 families with a total of around 22 stakeholders. Doug says 2 of those families are becoming increasingly vocal about wanting to sell the park to cash in on the real estate boom. How hard is it to have to deal with a family member who is only saying, show me the money or else?
It was probably the only thing in my father's life that really caused him any real anguish.
In 2007, the majority of the Trimpers family board of directors still want to keep the park open, but find themselves backed into a corner. That's because the beachfront development boom causes the park's property taxes to skyrocket.
The new property tax assessments came out, and I was like, oh my God, what's happened here? Our property taxes increased $500,000 at once. Our annual profit generally ran at that time around $300,000. So it was
Those numbers don't work.
No, they don't work at all.
That must have been sad for your dad.
Nobody wants to be the Trimper to close the park. He said it wasn't going to be him, and yet he didn't have any more answers.
Granville and Doug know they better come up with some answers if this century-old amusement park is going to make it.
You have any idea how many children you have to spin in a circle to pay $1 million of taxes alone?
That's next.
But first, our strange inheritance quiz question. First designed in France in the 1600s, carousels were originally created for what purpose? Is it military training, wedding celebrations, or scientific experiments?